I have two pictures. It's the same picture. I got it from Father Grimaldi. Now, when you're looking at this, you'll notice this good-looking little girl right here. She was 80-something years old when she died last year. 87, Father? This year. Y'all just take a look at how they're dressed. It just happened that Father gave me this picture, and Paul asked for me to talk about dress. Dress is something that has got to be understood. As you look at these young people, you can ask yourself, now, why did they dress so nicely? Why did the girls have dresses on, and why were the boys dressed masculine? Why didn't they have tattoos? And why didn't the guys have earrings and the girl have all this stuff all over their face? Why were they shaven? Why were they neat? Well, I'll tell you right now, if they lived today and they were that age today, they might be dressed like the rest of the society, unless their parents taught them different. Now, over and over when I give a talk, I always tell the parents that you have got to pay attention to your family, to your wife, to your children. Now, to be able to pay attention, I always say your job, making the money, having a good time, religion. Even religion should not get in the way of raising your family. Your children need a daddy that is aware of what's going on. For instance, I watch the length of my boy's sideburns. When it gets a little longer than I think it should be, I get on them. I watch their shaving. And look, some of them are in their 40s. And I tell them something about shaving. Keeping a clean shave. The way they comb their hair. I watch this. Now, I would imagine, when my grandchildren come to my house, first thing where's your belt at, son? Granny, go get them a belt. We keep belts at the house for the grandchildren, in case they come there. And if they got a belt loop, now if they got the little thing with no belt loop, well then they don't wear a belt, of course. But the point is, I emphasize this. Now, the average person says that's nuts. What difference does it make? Well, just go look at their families. There's the difference. You're going to see it. But you say, wait a minute, I know a lot of kids who don't do all that stuff, and the parents wasn't that strict, and the kids are pretty good. I don't know about that. I've seen them when they're 50 years old and 60 years old end up in divorces and all other sorts of things. Hey, until they shut that lid, the devil's after us. In fact, they said 3 hours after you die, the devil stops tempting you. Hey, look. The thing is this. Do you have a standard? Our problem is we don't have a standard. I chose to pick a standard. One of them is the Mary Light standard for girls. For the guys, I try to work with the boys. Because the world is constantly pulling our children to be sloppy. To be sloppy. I don't know why, but to look cruddy is cool. Just say when you see little girls saying, I'm bad. Little girls. Why does a little girl want to be bad? I'm talking about little kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, who are just not talking for very long. Why? Why? I don't understand it. You know? Why do I want to look like the Marlboro Man? Now, I'm not talking about a person who has a beard, because that takes, you got to keep that up. I'm talking about the Marlboro Man. All of y'all, well, let me tell you something. He looks tough. Oh, and if you want to be a tough dude, well, then you got to have be sloppy. Well, I'm telling you one thing. That's advertisement. And they're getting you. They got you, baby. They got you. You're being controlled by the media. Why can't I look neat? Why can't I look like holy people? Why can't I look like the good people? You know, why? Why do I have to look like cruddy people? You have something, so why? And it looks like the lower we go. Yeah, look, when I was a kid, we had poor people, and they might have went to school with blue jeans that were faded and torn, but they didn't spend $50 for them either. Now they go and buy them. These kids were ashamed because they didn't have the money to buy new jeans. But they dressed their best. Let me tell you something, folks. There's something about dress as it relates to the way you think. And there's something about the way you think that's going to relate to the way you dress. Now, a lot of y'all have known me for a long time. There's probably no one in this room who has ever seen me in a pair of tennis shoes or shorts or even blue jeans. Why? Because I have a way of looking at myself. I want people to see a person who's serious about life. If I'm going to be a daddy with 11 children and 55 grandchildren right now, plus hey, look, if I want my kids to listen to me, shouldn't I look like a leader? If I come in and I need a shave and I look like a bum, I remember one of my children, he went to a friend of ours' house who's a businessman. And he said, you know, Daddy, he says, every time I go into his business, he's always got a tie on, look really nice. He said, but I went to his house and he was in shorts and he looked like a bum. He needed a shave. He looked cruddy. And he said, you know something? His wife and his children treated him that way. He said, you see? Now, it is a constant struggle with your children. I know it was with me, and it still is. I still correct my children. When they need a shave, I tell them. But I mean, if I can shave, why can't they shave? You know, what is wrong with looking nice? Why do I need to look like I just got out of bed? Everything wrinkled? My wife one time told me, oh, George, take that shirt off. It's wrinkled. I'll get you another one. I said, everything else is wrinkled. Why not the shirt? Some things you can't help with wrinkles. But the point is this, you know, do you have any type of dress code? Or do you have one for your children? The way your children dress. Oh, a combing hair. That it look like that some of those guys on the magazines in Walmart. Just look. You know, again, these advertisers, they know what they're doing. They get into the minds of our children. And if I'm over here, if my mind is over here and over there and over there, and I've got all these things that are very important to do, I won't see the value in watching the way my children dress. It might not even enter my mind, but we're going to suffer for it. I'm telling you. Now again, you can go to extremes. For instance, and I've encountered all kinds of nuts in my life, and most of them wasn't on cars. It was, you know, it's people. But like if you go into the little town where I live, Centerville, in a weekday mass, you're not going to see me in a suit. Why? Because I keep that for Sunday. But somebody can say, wait a minute, George, hold it. It's the same mass. Yes, it is. But the people over there are country people, a lot of them farmers. You know, they don't dress like a city person does. To go with a suit during the week would bother them. And I don't want to bother people. I don't want. But I'm not going to worry about bothering them to be able to keep a standard up. Now, every one of you in here will have a different standard and the way you're going to apply things. But the point is, do you know why you do what you do when you do what you do? Or you just do it because you've seen somebody else do it? Do we have minds that we have a plan where we're saying, how can I serve God the best? You know, they read that little article on irony, contradictions. All right, what about this? I'm here to know, love, and serve God. Oh yes? I'm here to know, love, and serve God. But I don't have time enough to check my children out to see how they dress. And of course, Mama, she isn't good. I tell you what, a woman tends to be more liberal in sloppiness than a man is. I'm telling you that right now. Your wives will allow your kids to go dress sloppy quicker than you, even though you might let them go sloppy. But the point is, we got to look at that. We got to watch it because it is setting a direction in our children. And the thing is this, when I start dropping standards, and they are dropped, all you have to do is take a look at those pictures. Challenge you. Go to the library. Go to your local library and look up any city back in the 1800s and see how the men dressed. See how the men dressed. Then you look at them today. See how the children dress, and you look at them today. I remember when the Beatles hit the United States. We thought they were weird. Their hair was long. They had Buster Brown type haircuts in. Well, you just get one of those videos and look at them and then compare it to the animals that we got singing today. No comparison. How did we get from there and thinking this was bad to what we got today and nobody sees anything wrong with it? They're controlling our minds. There was a coach, I think it was Zig Ziglar talking about it. There was a coach when he was a young boy, and he was really working with this kid who was really rebellious. And somebody asked him, "Coach, why are you fooling with that fella?" He said, "If you don't lift them up, they will pull you down." And what has happened, we are being pulled down, and not only are we being pulled down, but we are doing it enthusiastically. We are letting the world control our minds, and we don't even see anything wrong with things that just 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, people have been embarrassed to go into town. You know, I see, anybody knows what thongs are, or flip-flops are, or shower shoes? They started out shower shoes. Okay. That was take a shower with. Well, you notice the number of people who are wearing shower shoes to town today, and now even going to church with it. See? Now, it's not a sin, but the thing is, what direction are we going in? Do we care how we look? If I don't care how I look, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. The way I comb my hair, the way I wear my clothes, all of this has something to do with the way I look at the world. It's just like often I tell y'all, I go to these masses, these English masses a lot of times, and even though the priest is doing a good job, the people, it bothers me the way the people act. And you know something? The day it stops bothering me, then I'm on the same level as they are. I've come down. The day I don't see anything wrong with being dignified I've come down. There's such a thing as being a child of God. You know, shouldn't we look nice? What's wrong with looking nice? Why do we have to look cruddy? We got to ask ourselves these questions. We're doing things today that even though, and I tell people this, you can go through your life and never commit one mortal sin, and yet you can lose your whole family. You can lose your whole family. Why? Because we just don't do the little things that our children needed us to do to keep them floating. Keep them floating. But we got to be aware of it. We have to be interested. That's why when I get too involved in non-essentials, Jim Rohn talks about we major in the minors. Well, let me tell you something. The more I pay attention to my children, the more I talk to them, they have a better chance of passing it on to their children. See, I don't want it to stop with my children. I want it to go to my grandchildren. What's the use to having 50-something, 60-something grandchildren if they end up all a bunch of hoodlums and they don't know why they do the good that they do? I have to know why I do what I do. And it's got to be important. It has to. I have to build up an importance. You got to ask yourself, who are you associating with? I don't care who you associate with. Just ask yourself, is it someone who's striving to serve God? Who takes his job of being a father and a daddy and a husband seriously? You know, or is it a person who, hey honey, how about taking care of that? Well, I don't want to be bothered with that. Look, I got a lot of things to do. No. I was telling Father Kramali coming up here. I watch those grandchildren and I analyze them and I think about it. And I can take a crying child, and unless it's sick or it's really hungry, I can stop that child from crying just by the way I hold that child. Most men, when they're around their children, first thing they do is give it to their wife. They don't want to be bothered with that child. We've got more important things to do. Okay. And I'll leave you with this. Let's just suppose all my kids come out real well. But not because of me, but because of someone else. That is, I would hate to meet God and that be the case. God bless y'all.